Today I'm going to be giving you a step-by-step guide to make this delicious yogurt buttermilk cake. And the best part is very beginner friendly. So even if it's your first time baking, don't worry, I'll walk you through everything in a way that you can also use the same knowledge to try out other cake recipes. So the first thing you want to do when baking your cake is to first make sure that you have all your ingredients out. So all the ingredients that you need to bake with, you need to bring them out so that you don't mix out of any of the ingredients, because each ingredient in the cake is very, very important. Each of the ingredients can make your cake very successful, can make your cake turn out badly. So make sure you bring out all your ingredients. Next thing you want to do is to ensure all your ingredients are at room temperature. Your egg, your milk, the yogurt, every ingredient, the butter. So if you have anyone in the fridge, the refrigerator, just bring them out and let them be at room temperature before you use them in baking. What I love to do is to prepare my baking pan. The reason why I do that first is so that when I'm done with my cake batter, I don't have to start running around looking for how to start preparing my pan. So I already prepared my pan ahead. So just line your pan with parchment paper. That's just like the best way to line your parts with parchment paper or baking paper. This is to prevent the cake from sticking to the pan and also from so that it can come out easily when you bake your pan. So I just put some butter the bottom and side of the bowl and just cut out the parchment paper depending on the shape of your pan, and that is it.
Hands moving swiftly like a chef's ballet, dusting powder like stars lighting up the way. Every chop, every sizzle harmonizes the move
Aside until when you are done with your cake. So the next thing you want to do is to preheat your oven. This is super very important. The oven can determine if you're going to have a dry cake, you're going to have a burnt cake, you're going to have a moist cake, you're going to have a fluffy cake. So make sure you preheat your oven. You should preheat your oven like 5 to 10 minutes before you bake. So let me say 10 minutes before you add your cake into your oven should be preheated. And most times we usually love to bake our cake at 300 to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's what you want. That's usually at the temperature at which each cake usually bakes. So between 300 to 350. So you can go 325, 345, so thereabout. So how will you determine if your cake has gotten to that degree is with your thermometer. Not mine has seen better days, but this is what an oven thermometer is. I'm just going to show you a picture of how it is, but this is how it should look like, an oven thermometer. This is to tell you what degree at which your oven is. So it's very important, because sometimes you might think you've preheated your oven to a certain degree and then you put your cake inside, it's going to just get burnt, it's going to just bake quickly and cake won't done inside. So to avoid that, make sure that you have an oven thermometer. So this is how you should use your thermometer. You take it and place it, and then you open your oven and place it on the rack that is in your oven. So this will determine at what temperature at which you are baking. So that's how to use an oven thermometer. So when you place it, you put on your oven within 5 to 10 minutes or so, let you know. So you have to wait like 5 to 10 minutes. That's where you will know that your oven has gotten to a particular degree. So when baking, the next thing is the measurement. So it's very important. So this is a spoon and this is a cup, sorry, and this is a spoon. So but in baking a cake, it's always advisable to use a scale than using cup because of the precise measurement. When you use a scale, you have a proper measurement. So you can just get like a mini scale like this so that you can have a proper measurement. So before you use a scale, so make sure maybe there's a pan or whatever, a plate, whatever you want to use to put your ingredients first, and then you now put it on so to get to 0 before you now put your products. That's when you get the proper measurements. Like I said, using a scale will give you the precise measurements, but in case you have your cup, this is hard to measure. You've not got to the scale yet, so please do that if you want to be very successful in your baking. So this is how to measure your ingredients. So this is how I'm measuring this flour. You can see the way I'm using my spoon to scoop out the flour and putting it into the measuring cup. That's how you should do yours. And then you now level it with a sharp object. Is that a knife or a spoon? Any sharp object that you have, this is to that's how to measure. And then when you put it in there, 1 cup of flour is 120 grams. So you can see it's almost the same thing. So let's get into baking this cake proper. So into my sieve, I just added in all-purpose flour. You want to sieve this to remove impurities. So the next thing I'm adding is some cornstarch. So some recipes, there's no need for cornstarch, but I needed cornstarch in this because I want this cake to be light and fluffy. So the next thing I'm adding is sugar. It's not all recipe that you add sugar in here. I'll be explaining later. So the other thing I'm adding is some baking soda. The reason why you want to use a spoon in adding your baking soda and not a scale is because most scale will not even notice that you measure anything because of how little it is. So make sure you level it as you've seen in the video. So I just added in just some baking powder and some salt. So when working with baking soda, make sure that you have other ingredients like you have your baking powder or you have some acid like lemon or vinegar. If you just use baking soda on its own to make your cake or any other pastry or anything, it will not rise well because it needs all these other ingredients to feed for it to activate. So the next thing I want to do is to make what is called buttermilk. So I just added in just some vinegar, that's white vinegar. You can use lemon as well. I just poured that into milk. So you can check the description box for the ingredients measurements. The next thing I want to do is to cream some butter. I said this is a very quick, easy cake. We don't need any instruments. I'm just only using my wicks to cream my butter. So if you see some other recipe, we say cream, butter, and sugar. So the reason why we are not creaming butter and sugar in this recipe because it has other ingredients to make your cake fluffy. So when you cream butter and sugar is to give your cake that fluffiness. So that's why we cream butter and sugar. Because I'm using other ingredients to make this cake fluffy, that's why I'm not creaming butter and sugar. So in case you see other recipe that say cream butter and sugar, do not skip that method. Is because it's going to result in a fluffy cake. Because of other ingredients I added to this cake, that's why I'm skipping the addition of the sugar in this place. And this is supposed to be a quick recipe, so that's why I formulated everything together for you to make a very simple, easy cake in no time. So cream the butter until fluffy, and then the next thing you want to do is just to add in your egg white. I'm not using the whole egg to make this recipe. I'm only using egg white. So just add it one at a time and cream at each addition. The reason why I'm only using egg white in this recipe because I want this cake to be lighter and fluffy because I skipped the addition of creaming the butter and sugar. And egg white will make this cake lighter and fluffy. So egg yolk is rich in fat, so I already have all that with my yogurt and buttermilk. So that's why I'm only using egg whites in this recipe. And the reason why you want to add your egg one at a time, at creamware at each addition, is just to help the ingredient bind together and also to trap air into the batter. If you add all your egg at a time, it's just going to split the batter or curdle up the batter. So add your egg one at a time and cream at each addition. Always scrape the bottom and side of the bowl in order for you to incorporate all the ingredients. The next thing I'm adding is some vanilla flavor. So just mix that well for some seconds. So please make sure you try as much as possible not to over cream your batter, because this can also ruin your cake. So do not go and cream for like some seconds. You are not creaming for a minute. It's just going to ruin your cake. So make sure that you put that in mind. And then the next thing I want to do is just to mix all the ingredients together. So here I'm adding our dry ingredients. So it's very important to start with your dry ingredients and also end with your dry ingredients. This is super duper important. And then you use the fold in method. This, what I'm doing right here, is called a fold in method. So that is how you want to add your dry ingredients into your batter. The dry ingredients in 3 addition and the wet ingredients in 2 addition. So I just added just little of the dry ingredients, and then I'm going to alternate it with my buttermilk and yogurt. So the first thing here I'm adding is my yogurt, and then for our buttermilk, make sure that you mix it up before you add it into your batter. So like I said, 2 addition for the wet ingredient and 3 addition for the dry ingredients. It is very, very important when making a cake to follow the right measurements. So if you feel like, oh, I want to add more milk into my cake or more yogurt into my cake, you are going to have disaster. I promise you. I'm going to show you a video or that I forgot the measurements and I went to do my own heart desire. It came out bad. So make sure when making a cake, you follow the measurements that the baker has given. The sugar, everything that you see contributes to a cake is very crucial. If you just go and over add or under add, it's just going to ruin your cake. So you're going to waste your ingredients, waste your effort. So make sure when baking a cake that you follow the precise measurement. You cannot feel that this cake is too sweet and you go and reduce the sugar. It might affect the cake. Every ingredient that is added into a cake makes the cake turn out good. So you cannot just decide to reduce something or add something more. Is going to not result in a nice cake. See, I try as much as possible not to over mix my ingredients, because over mixing too can make you have a dense cake. So make sure when you add your ingredients, you don't over mix it. Just for some seconds, you are done mixing it. So do not forget to scrape the bottom and side of the bowl. This is to incorporate all the ingredients. So make sure that you move your spatula down of the bowl in order for all the ingredients to properly mix up together. So I wanted to explain this earlier, but when I did the video, it feels so lengthy, so I had to cut it off from this video. It's about preheating your oven. So many things that you really need to know. If you want to have a successful cake, really need to know about preheating. So I just did a very detailed explanation in the description box. So please make sure that you check the description box below. Help you and save you so much time and stress, and you get a very, very good result. So this is a hack I saw on Instagram about using flour nail. So this, what I just put in my pan is flour nail. I just put it in the middle just to make sure that your cake bakes evenly. Everywhere of your cake bakes evenly. This is a hack. You can skip it. My other previous cake I usually bake, I do not put the flour nail, but like I said, is a hack that I saw and I've started using it in my cake. So just putting flour nail in your cake is to make sure your cake bakes evenly, and that's it. So I'm just going to stop here in explaining. So more details in the description box below. So just tap your cake pan to remove excess air bubbles, and we are baking this cake at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and it took about 45 minutes for this cake to bake. So your cake is baked properly when you insert toothpick in the middle and it comes out clean, or when you see the side of the pan, you can see that the cake is separating from the pan. You know that your cake is well baked. Or the whole of your kitchen, everywhere in your house is smelling that something is well baked. You know that your cake has properly baked. Please try as much as possible not to be opening your oven. When you open your oven up and down, it's going to reduce the temperature and your cake will not bake evenly well. So make sure, Like I said, this cake took about 45 minutes. So before you go and open your oven, just try as much as possible to wait for 35 minutes. That's if you follow the right temperature I have given before you open the oven to see if it has baked. I hope I've tried as much as possible to make this video clear, but if you have any question, do not forget you can go to my comment section and drop your questions. Follow all the steps and everything I've said in this video. This is how your cake will turn out. So this is a result when you do other things to your cake. So just look at the reason why your cake can result to this. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Turn on your post notifications to get notified when I drop a new video. Bye for now. Ciao.
She dey chop and mix with style. One taste go make you smile. Garlic, ginger, everything nice. Her food fit make you chop rice twice. No shortcut, she dey take her time. Teresa's flavor dey